All right, welcome to the Running Wine Mom Live. Tonight, we are going to talk about debunking parenting myths. We hear them all the time as a parent, mom of two toddlers. Um, it's just never ending, so you never know what is real and what is not. So let's get started. First of all, did you know that 70% of parents believe at least one common parenting myth? So you are probably one of the people that maybe believe some of them. Me too. That means most of us have kind of been following advice that is just really not true. Today, what we're going to do, we're going to dive into the top 20 myths that people have sent me in. I asked on some of my accounts, and trust me, some of these are going to completely change how you look at parenting, especially number 17. So let's get started with that. Again, hey everyone, my name is Samantha. I am the Running Wine Mom, and welcome back to another live session today. Today, we're going to be talking about parenting myths, those little pieces of advice that sound convincing but are actually way off. So they can make us, doubt ourselves as parents, lead us down the wrong path, or create unnecessary stress. So you guys have sent me 20 myths that you want debunked, and I'm going to give you the facts that are backed by research and expert advice. So let's jump right in. Give everyone a second to kind of drum roll. All right, myth number one: holding your baby too much will spoil them. Let's debunk that. This one is super common, but you cannot spoil a baby with love. In fact, holding and cuddling your baby really promotes emotional bonding, and it helps with brain development too. Studies show that babies who receive lots of affection are more likely to grow up emotionally secure. I remember when I first had my daughter, so many people were like, don't hold the baby too much. You don't want to spoil the baby. You cannot spoil a newborn. Enjoy all those newborn cuddles. And even if it's a toddler, again, one day those cuddles are going to be something that you need, and you can never spoil a baby by cuddling them and giving them love. So that is a myth. Myth number two: if your baby doesn't sleep through the night by 6 months, something is wrong. All right, debunk. Every baby is different when it comes to sleep. Some babies sleep through the night early on, while others take much longer. It's completely normal for a baby to wake up during the night, even during the first year or even more. The idea that all babies should sleep through the night by 6 months puts really some unnecessary pressure and stress on parents. So don't worry. I know we all miss our sleep and we want our sleep, but if your baby is not sleeping by 6 months, you're not doing anything wrong. Myth number three: kids need to drink milk for strong bodies. I grew up, milk does a body good, all of the milk campaigns, but we're going to debunk this. Milk is a good source of calcium, but it's not the only way for kids to get it. Leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and fortified foods, they can also provide the necessary calcium for healthy bones. So if your child maybe doesn't like milk or has a dairy intolerance, don't worry. There are plenty of other options for that. So your baby does not need to drink milk. Our kids, my daughter actually doesn't really drink any milk at all unless it's in a smoothie. Myth number four: sugar makes kids hyperactive. We've all heard this. We're going to debunk it though. This one's been around forever, but there's really no solid evidence that's linking sugar intake to hyperactivity in children. According to studies, it's more about situations. So, like a birthday party where kids are excited, not the sugar itself. We still obviously need to limit sugar for other health reasons, but don't blame it for making your child bounce off the wall. So it's okay if they have a little sugar, just be, mindful of it. Myth number five: good parents don't let their kids watch TV. Er, Moderation is key. The American Academy of Pediatrics suggests limiting screen time for younger kids. But an hour or two of age appropriate TV, it's not going to harm them. In fact, really certain educational shows can be super beneficial. We love Miss Rachel. We love Blippi. The important thing is really balancing screen time with other activities like outdoor play, reading, and family time. And again, recently I interviewed a psychologist who deals directly with brain development in children and teens. And his biggest suggestion is making sure it's an interactive TV. So don't just plop them in front of Coco Melon, but something like Miss Rachel where the kids are talking back and it's almost like a teacher. Um, that's quite all right. Myth number 6, letting your baby cry it out causes emotional damage. This is definitely a controversial one, but we're going to debunk it. Research shows that controlled crying or crying it out methods don't cause long-term emotional damage when done properly. In fact, for some babies, it can help them learn to self-soothe. Every parent needs to find the sleep method that works for them, whether you find one or you don't. But know that if you do choose to do a structured cry it out, you're not going to hurt the baby by trying this approach. Myth number 7, spanking is an effective way to discipline children. We should all know that this is debunked. Spanking, it may stop a behavior like in the short term, in the moment, but studies really show that it leads to more aggressive behavior and it does not teach long term self control. Positive discipline methods like setting clear boundaries and using consequences help kids learn better without the negative effects of physical punishment. So that is something, to remember. All right, let's go on to myth number 8. Kids need to eat everything on their plate. I know we want them to, but we're going to debunk it. We're going to say encouraging kids to clean their plate can actually lead to kind of unhealthy eating habits. Kids are good at self regulating how much food they need. So it's important to really let them decide when they're full. Even though it's frustrating, we made a great meal, but forcing them to finish their food can really cause issues with overall eating later in life. So we're gonna debunk that. Myth number 9, talking to babies in baby talk is bad for their language development. I've definitely heard this, but we are going to debunk it. In reality, baby talk or parentess can help with language development as long as it's exaggerated, which babies love. What's important is that you're talking to the baby often and you're engaging with them. So, really, one of the goals, if you have been following me, we are involved in a 3-year language development study with Princeton University. And one of the things they say, the most important thing, it doesn't really matter how you talk to them, but it matters how many words the babies are exposed to. That's going to really help with their language development. Myth number 10, breastfeeding always comes naturally. I know that's true. That's not true. While breastfeeding is natural, it's also a skill that both mom and babies need to learn, and it doesn't always come easily. It's not something that's just natural for you. Lactation consultants and support groups, they can be a big help. So whether you breastfeed or formula feed, what matters most is that your baby is fed in a healthy way, whatever you feel comfortable with. We are halfway done. All right, we're going to go to myth number 11. Once a picky eater, always a picky eater. Nope. Kids' tastes, they change as they grow. It can take multiple exposures. I thought I read like 15 exposures to a new food before a child decides if they even like it. But again, the key is to not pressure them, but just keep offering a variety of foods to them. So just keep putting it on their plate. And then maybe one day they'll take a bite of it. Myth number 12, bad behavior is a reflection of bad parenting. Thankfully, this is debunked. Children, they act out for all sort of reasons, tiredness, hunger, developmental stages. It's not because of bad parenting. Every child has their moments of bad behavior, and it does not mean that you are failing as a parent. So just give yourself some grace in that sense. Myth number 13, a strict schedule is the key to a well-behaved child. While I want to believe this because I love a good schedule, we're going to debunk it. Routines are helpful, but being overly rigid with schedules, they can really cause stress for both you and your child. Flexibility is key. Kids need structure, but they also need to learn how to adapt when things don't always go as planned. And if you have kids that things do not always go as planned, and it can cause you to have a meltdown and your kids. Myth number 14, if your child isn't walking by 12 months, something is wrong. We're going to debunk that. The range for walking is between 9 months to 18 months. Some children take even longer, but developmental milestones aren't set in stone. Every child progresses at their own pace. So just remember that. All kids develop differently. So I know it puts a lot of stress on moms when their kid is not walking. Myth number 15, potty training should be done by age 2. Hopefully that's debunked because my kids were not potty trained fully by age 2. Kids are ready for potty training at different ages. Pushing too early, it can really cause stress and setbacks. It's best for you to wait until your child shows signs of readiness, which could really be as late as 3 or 4. We aimed to be potty trained by 3 fully. Parker is potty training now at 2, but he's not nearly close to being fully potty trained. Myth 16, boys will be boys. Debunk. This phrase is often used as an excuse for inappropriate behavior in boys, but children should really be held accountable for their actions, regardless of their gender. Teaching boys to be kind, respectful, and responsible is really essential. We're not using that excuse, boys will be boys anymore. Be kind. Myth 17, kids should be quiet and obedient to be well behaved. Nope. This might surprise some of us because that's what we are told that kids need to do. But the idea that kids should be seen and not heard is truly outdated. Children need to express themselves, to develop problem solving and emotional skills. They need to develop problem solving skills and emotional intelligence. So silence does not equal good behavior. It just means that they're not engaging. So that's something to remember. Myth 18. This is one of my favorites. The more toys, the happier the child. No, let's debunk this. More toys does not equal happiness or better development. In fact, research really does show that fewer toys can encourage creativity and focus. Kids do not need an overflowing toy chest to be happy. They just need quiet time, and stimulating activities, really. Even though we have a ton of toys, we do try to limit grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and even us from buying toys because they'd rather play with the box. Myth 19, it's not okay to say no to your child. Okay. Setting boundaries is an important part of parenting. So saying no helps children really learn their limits and it teaches them about patience, self-control, and safety. So it is all about balance. We have come to myth number 20. All parents should parent the same way. We know this is a myth because there is no one size fit all approach to parenting. Every child is different, and so is every family. What works for one, it may not work for another. So, really, just trust your instincts, do what's best for you and your family, and you're going to have the best outcome for you. You just can't compare yourself to others. So we are going to kind of wrap it up. What a list. We really have tackled everything from holding your baby to sugar and screen time. What's the key takeaway from this? Parenting is personal. And while advice can be helpful, myths can really cause unnecessary stress. So always look for evidence, trust your gut, and do what is best for your family because that is going to make you the best parent, the happiest parent. It's going to make your kids the best. I always say, do what's best for you. So now it is your turn. What other parenting myths have you heard or that you want debunked? Comment below. Let's keep the conversation going. And, if you enjoyed this, please make sure to check out my other videos on modern parenting tips and tricks. See you next time. Thanks.